What's up, y'all? It's your girl, the Benjamin B. What you watching on TV? I'm watching the 4th episode, season 1, The Creep Tapes. Now, this episode is going to profile our boy Brad. So it opens up with a person who looks like a filmmaker. He's standing outside and he's like adjusting his camera. Once everything is organized, turns the camera and you can see he's just arrived at somebody's house or something. He heads into the home that he's just arrived to. He goes inside the front door. Like most of our cases, he can't find anybody. He goes into what seems to be an empty house. He begins to call out to see if anybody will answer him back, but of course there's no response. It's kind of a big house, so as he wanders a little bit further into it, he starts to hear a faint sound of a piano playing like in the background. He follows the music to find a man sitting at a piano playing. Of course, it's our boy Wolfie. Wolfie is super excited to see this dude. He jumps up from the piano, he greets him. He then goes into a long speech about how big of a fan he is based on some true crime documentary that he filmed. Now, he's such a big fan, he actually has a copy of a true crime documentary that Brad made about 20 years ago. It's during this time where he declares Brad like the godfather of all true crime documentary filmmaking. As Wolfie continues to talk, he goes on and actually reveals that he knows quite a bit of information about Brad. Brad is a little weirded out because I think he's taken back by how much Wolfie knows about him. But as he does, Wolfie continues to dominate the conversation. It's this time where he coaxes him into another part of the house. He leads him into a bedroom, pretty clean, pretty still, but Brad notices a dead body laying in the bedroom on the other side of the bed. And he's a little creeped out already, but he approaches the body. I think really he wanted to see if it was real or not. Well, he realizes it's real and he throws up on the wall. So clearly Brad is shook the fuck up. This is where Wolfie takes the camera away from Brad. Brad is sitting on the floor, and because he's so shaken, he's like sitting on the wall close to the body, really just trying to collect himself. So this is where Wolfie kicks it up with the whole mental gymnastics. He poses the idea that he and Brad actually go into the situation and make a true crime documentary together, or they could just call the police. After he poses the idea of the true crime doc versus the official way of handling things, Wolfie sits the camera on a dresser that's facing towards Brad and his body. He gives him a little time to ponder his options, and he walks out the room. Brad approaches the camera. He picks it up, checks its settings, I guess to make sure it's still running. And this is where he weighs his options. Of course, he knows the right thing to do is probably to notify the authorities, but he is a filmmaker and he knows this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He's gonna go for it. He picks up the camera, goes outside of the bedroom. He's looking for Wolfie. He wanders through the house. He doesn't see Wolfie anywhere in the house. As he goes in a couple of the different rooms, he actually makes it to one of them where there are some doors and a couple of windows that are exposed. On the other side of one of the windows, he looks out and he sees Wolfie is back there digging what appears to be a grave. Brad makes his way outside to where Wolfie is, reveals that he's going to go forward with the true crime documentary idea. Wolfie is super excited. He's already halfway through digging this grave. There's a huge pile of dirt. Well, he actually goes to that pile of dirt to try to scoop some of it back into the grave. Brad is asking him, why are you doing that? Well, Wolfie wants to recreate some sort of dramatical scene by digging the grave from its starting point. But this is where they have a discussion about the integrity of the documentary. Brad instructs him not to do that. He wants everything to be as realistic as possible. So Wolfie follows his lead, goes back to digging out the grave. I guess he thought it would be funny or cute to splash Brad with some of the dirt. Now this is where he makes a reference to yet another movie, a movie called The Children of Men. Another one, I'm gonna have to look for that and watch it. Wolfie goes into a whole nother rant about how much he admires Brad and how much he looks up to him. He knows at this point that Brad is probably pretty uncomfortable and he acknowledges the fact that he's talking way too much. Remember, Brad has gone ahead and decided to film the documentary with Wolfie. So it cuts to them coming back out of the house with Brad filming and with Wolfie dragging his friend on a blanket. Now while he's dragging him on this blanket, he initiates a game with Brad. The game has rules though. He tells Brad that he can ask him any questions, but they have to be yes or no answers. He cannot definitively ask him if he killed the man that they're getting ready to bury. Brad asks a couple of questions that are yes or no. And eventually he does ask whether or not he killed his friend. However, he poses it in a way to kind of finagle the rules that Wolfie set out for him. Wolfie gets a little pissed off. He's like, hey, I told you you can't ask me that, but you did it anyway. He's so upset, this is where he starts to go into where he's having his back spasm. The back spasms are so bad and he is so theatrical that he convinces Brad that he don't think he's going to be able to drag the body all the way over to the grave by himself. So he solicits Brad to help him the rest of the way. Together they pull the body out to the grave and place it inside. Wolfie then says something and then disappears back into the house. Now, since Brad was left standing there, he takes this opportunity to get a close-up of the body that's inside. He inspects the body. He starts from the feet, but he works his way up to the head where he locates a locket. He pops open the locket, and there's a picture on the inside. It's a picture of your boy Wolfie. As soon as he finds this locket, Wolfie reappears. So they have another weird exchange, very uncomfortable, but this is where Brad lets him know, hey, I know you did this shit. So Wolfie acts surprised, says a couple of more weird things, and then he disappears back into the house. So this is where Brad decides he got enough footage. This is gonna be a good time for him to burn out. So Brad jumps into his car, starts it up, gets ready to back out. And as he's backing out, he runs over something substantial. He gets out to investigate and notices that there is another body under his car. He throws up again. Wolfie rushes outside to all the commotion and asks him what he did. Essentially, he's blaming Brad for this other person being dead, even though they already wrapped up in like a blanket or tarp or some shit. Now we cut to them both bringing that second body into the same grave where the first one was already placed. They put the second body in the grave, but then Wolfie turns it into another game. They put the second body into the grave where the first one is placed. Now Wolfie decides to turn this into another game, basically charging Brad to come up with a theory as to who he thinks killed who. Brad approaches both bodies. This time he reveals the face of the second one and is wearing Wolfie's mask. They go into some additional theories as to how this might have happened. Now Brad starts looking around to kind of investigate the scene and he's taking stock of his surroundings. Wolfie smacks him in the face with a shovel, knocking him out. This is where we cut to the next scene where Brad is sitting in a chair, knocked out, in the house in front of a TV. Wolfie decides to play his guest a movie. There's a compilation of surveillance footage that shows Brad in different spots in the home. And the way these scenes are pieced together, they implicate Brad as the murderer of both these people. Wolfie explains that he's gonna hijack the documentary and he's got plans to make it look like Brad is the killer. He gives Brad one more time to get away. He offers him the ability to escape the situation. Brad gets up to run from the chair once he comes to. Of course, he never make it out. Wolfie kills him out of eyeshot of the camera in a room to the side with the same shovel that they used to bury these other men with. And Brad becomes our fourth victim of season 1. Okay, my thoughts. So, my first thought is, of course, it's another reference to a movie. I feel like I am now compelled to research and see if I can find this movie. I think High Velocity and Misery are the only two that I have seen. I have heard of God's Not Dead with Kevin Sorbo, but to be honest, I wasn't really a Sorbo fan. I mean, I only know him from the Hercules Xena Warrior Princess days, so I wasn't ever checking for it, but I'm gonna watch it now. So yeah, that's the main thing. The other thought that this episode inspired in me, right, of course, so I've already said in a couple of the other reviews that I'm a major fan of this dude and just how his brain works, and it's fascinating to me. But then the other thing is like, what did this motherfucker do for money? Like, do he have a job? Like, how does he spend so much time? These tricks and traps are so fucking elaborate. It drives me nuts, right? How did this dude find the money? And then we always have these different random locations. So are these locations, do they belong to like previous victims? Does he like murder these people and like steal their identities and their bank accounts or some shit? Like, there's so many questions. There's so many questions. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking about. Now, as far as with Brad, so Brad's episode in particular, first of all, we know that he has been a fan of Brad for at least 20 years because apparently the documentary that Brad made, which is how I presume Wolfie first came into even knowing who this dude was, that was 20 years ago. I don't know that it would be completely accurate to assume that he'd been watching him the whole 20 years. I mean, because this dude been busy, clearly. He definitely has some other shit to do. So I wouldn't say that he necessarily been watching him for 20 years, but it does just make you kind of think about and wonder, I don't know, it just give me the creeps, right? Like it gives me the creeps. So there's a new term that people have been throwing around about like parasocial relationships, right? I think that is the scariest shit on the planet. For a person to think they know you, or even scarier, they feel entitled to you based on one aspect of your life that they know you for is horrifying to me. And poor Brad. And then I'm also amazed at how few people, and I think this is real, you know, in everyday life too. I think I'm really shocked at how folks will ignore their intuition. Like, each one of these episodes, everybody's internal self said, get the fuck up out of here. And they all ignore it. Like, why? Like, why do we do that? Why do people do that? I don't know. So the parasocial thing stands out to me when it comes to thinking about him. And then I'm just really amazed by how much time and access to wealth Wolfie has to be able to do all this shit. It's just, it's fascinating. And then I know that it's fiction, so I get it. Motherfuckers is crazy, like, for real, in real life. And so, it goes down. I just have to wonder, like, what does this dude do for money? Like, how do he eat? Well, but I guess it's not hard. All he got to do is assume or steal a couple of identities, I suppose. And so, but anyway, y'all, that is all I have for episode 4. This is Brad's episode of the Creep Tapes. That's all I got to say about that shit. It's your girl, the Benji B. I'm finna go find me something else to watch on TV. I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Bye.